After bottling my rage for about 6 weeks, I finally get to talk about how angry this movie makes me. But why, Noah? Why does this movie piss you off so much? Well, this movie makes me mad because it was well on its way to being a top-tier MCU movie with seemingly nothing in its way to stop it except for that stupid goddamn plot twist. Like seriously, that's what ruined the movie for me. This stupid plot twist halfway through the film just ruined the whole thing. Everything was going so well. It was such a good build, looking like it was going to be a top-tier MCU movie, maybe even a top-tier Iron Man movie, maybe even a movie on par with Iron Man 1, and they just ruined it with this dumb shit. It's a shame too, because this movie spins a good tale of how Tony Stark is trying to recover from the events of the Avengers. This movie portrays him slowly losing his mind and suffering from anxiety, while meanwhile the world around him is crumbling as well, as a mysterious villain called the Mandarin is destroying everything and trying to kill the president. This becomes a tale of how Tony Stark must overcome his personal demons and then save the world, and it was being told really well until they screwed it up. But honestly, I could rant about this plot twist for a while, and we're going to talk about it more in the middle and the end, so let's just get into it. Let's look back at Iron Man 3. Well, before we go forward, we have to go back, all the way back to New Year's Eve, 1999. A young Tony Stark is partying with a scientist named Maya Hansen, who has invented some kind of regenerative treatment called Extremis. While in the elevator, they meet up with an incredibly nervous mullet man named Aldrich Killian. Killian is interested in having Tony invest in his company. After giving Maya his card, Tony instructs Killian to go to the roof and wait for him there for a meeting. Tony just ends up having wild sex with Maya instead, though, and leaves Killian all alone on the roof. Now we're back in present day, after the events of the Avengers, and Tony Stark is doing well? Actually, no, he's not doing well at all. In fact, he's slowly losing his mind. In addition, there's a new terrorist threat named the Mandarin who's threatening the lives of American citizens as well as the president. In double addition, War Machine, aka James Rhodes, has been renamed the Iron Patriot, because that's a little bit cooler, honestly. Tony and Rhodes meet at a restaurant to discuss what's going on with the Mandarin, but Tony ends up having a freakout attack after he's antagonized by a small child, reinforcing the fact that children are fucking evil. Meanwhile, it looks like Pepper is running Stark Industries again, even though she quit the job at the end of the second movie, but whatever. Happy Hogan is also no longer Tony's personal bodyguard and is now head of security at Stark Industries. Pepper is visited at the company by an old friend, Aldrich Killian, who we saw in the flashback at the beginning of the movie. Happy's a little bit suspicious by this meeting and calls Tony to basically tattletale. Killian shows Potts this new thing he's invented that would allow him to control the brain of any living organism. Potts thinks it's incredible, but could also be used to, create super soldiers and wage war and stuff, so she turns him down. Back at home, Potts and Tony begin to have it out over Tony's new hobby of mass building Iron Man suits. Tony finally opens up though and tells her that he can't sleep due to what happened in New York, and that's why he stays downstairs all day making more suits. That night, he finally does get some sleep until he starts to have a nightmare and accidentally triggers one of the suits in his sleep, causing it to attack Pepper. Meanwhile, that same night, Happy's got a mission of his own. He's tracking one of Killian's bodyguards, who he found to be pretty suspicious back at Stark Industries. After observing the bodyguard selling some kind of metal-looking drugs to some rando, Happy decides to fight it out with him. That proves to be not such a good idea, though, as this guy has a glowy face and super strength. Looks like his cokehead friend couldn't handle the new drugs though, as it causes him to literally explode and destroy most of the Chinese theater. Looks like Killian's up to something evil, but Happy can't quite report on it as he's been severely injured in the explosion. After leaving the hospital, Tony is confronted by a bunch of reporters. Tony, who in addition to anxiety is apparently now also suffering from brain damage, decides to give out his home address to the Mandarin. Tony then goes to work at home trying to connect the Mandarin attacks, and finds out the man who exploded himself is actually a military veteran. He looks at attacks that are not linked to the Mandarin, and finds only one that has the possible heat signals, one that took place in Tennessee. And turns out the guy who exploded himself there, go figure, was also a military veteran. Tony sets a flight course for Tennessee, but that's going to be delayed slightly, as he has company. The Mandarin? No, not the Mandarin. His old colleague, Maya. After Maya tries to rush Tony out the door to talk about something, and they argue over a giant inflatable stuffed rabbit, it appears that there's a missile coming towards the house. Oh crap, who could have bombed you? Oh, I don't know, Captain Brain Damage. Maybe the Mandarin, considering you gave him your fucking home address. As they're being blown away by this missile though, Tony's able to summon the power of Keanu Reeves somehow, and send the Iron Man suit onto Pepper, protecting her. Once Pepper and Maya are clear of the house, Tony summons the suit back to him and begins going to work on destroying these helicopters that are firing missiles at his fucking house. He's able to take down a couple of them, but the second one goes right into the house and sends the whole thing off the cliffside, Tony included. Tony's about to drown, but luckily the suit and Jarvis save him, and he's able to shoot out of the water at just the last second. Tony then wakes up several hours later flying over Tennessee, where he crash lands, because, you know, Jarvis set a flight pattern there. Okay, well, it's not like it could be worse, right? Actually, yeah, it could. The suit loses power and dies, taking Jarvis with it. Tony uses a payphone to send Pepper a message letting her know that he's okay. He then drags the suit all the way to a house and breaks into somebody's garage. But he didn't break into just anybody's garage. He broke into the garage of a young boy armed with a potato gun. Tony calms things down though by revealing to the young boy, whose name is Harley, that he's actually Iron Man. Tony then puts Harley to work and has him get some parts for him so he can repair the suit, as well as a sandwich. Back in Malibu, Pepper is mourning, well briefly, until she puts on the Iron Man helmet and receives Tony's message. She then drives off to a secure location with Maya, who reveals to her that her boss might be working with the Mandarin. Who's her boss, you ask? Why, Aldrich Killian, of course. And then sure enough, we do indeed get confirmation that Aldrich Killian is the right-hand man of the Mandarin. Tony and Harley then go to the site of where that military dude blew himself up, and Tony decides that something is not quite right about this. Being an asshole though, Harley causes Tony to have another anxiety attack because again, children are fucking evil. Tony then decides to go to a local bar to confront the mother of the man who blew himself up in order to get some new information. He gets more than he bargained for though, as she gives him a file of stuff that she thought he called about. Turns out he's not the one that called about though, but rather another extremist agent. The agent beats down Tony and handcuffs him until she's stopped by the sheriff, who she promptly puts her arm through. Tony runs away handcuffed, but hey, at least it's a one-on-one fight. Oh crap. Tony and the agent battle into a restaurant where she attempts to burn him, but ends up accidentally burning his handcuffs off. Tony then lights a fire and defeats her using his most intricate weapon yet, a microwave. Tony's not done though, as he still has to deal with the other guy, who decides to cut off the entire town's water supply just to be a dick. Crap, looks like he's also kidnapped the kid, but luckily, Harley's able to get away by stunning him using a tool that Tony gave him. Using that distraction, Tony is able to incapacitate the agent and steal his car keys. Harley unsuccessfully tries to convince Tony to stay with him, and Tony instead gives him the job of looking after the suit. Tony drives off, but all is not quite well, as Jesse Pinkman over here is still alive. Oh boy, time for another Mandarin message. He's kidnapped a random American accountant and is threatening to kill him unless the president calls him in the next 30 seconds. The president, being a good guy, does make the phone call, and the Mandarin, being a massive dick, just kills the guy anyway. While doing the very dangerous activity of driving and reading, Tony's able to look for those files he got. Reading them, he uncovers the word AIM, who are the people who did the redesign on the Iron Patriot suit, and Tony's able to decipher that they're connected to the Mandarin. After calling Rhodey and getting his username and password, Tony breaks into a news van. After meeting an overexcited fan and using him to boost a Wi-Fi password, Tony is able to sign into the AIM network. Tony finds video files showing that AIM is run by Killian, who is using extremists to turn former military veterans into extremist soldiers. Meanwhile, at a hotel, Pepper is talking with Maya, and Maya spins her some kind of weird hippie garbage that makes no sense. I don't know if she was supposed to have a concussion or what, but everything she's saying was stupid. Whatever, room service is here. Oh shit, that's not room service. Hey, look at that. Turns out Maya was actually more full of shit than we thought, as she's still working with Killian. So was that the big plot twist? No. We're gonna get to that. Just hold on. Meanwhile, in fucking Pakistan, things are not going well for the Iron Patriot either, as he's lured into a trap and captured by an extremist soldier. Tony, who's still driving, gets on the phone with Harley and Jarvis, who's now partially charged. They let him know the surprising information, though, that the Mandarin is not located in the Middle East at all, but rather in Miami. Harley also lets Tony know that the suit isn't charging, or rather it's charging really slowly, and Tony starts to have another freakout attack. Surprisingly, Harley's able to snap him out of it though, by telling him, hey, why don't you just build something? And Tony's like, well, okay, and goes to work on building something. What he builds are a bunch of homemade weapons so that he can go full James Bond on the Mandarin's Miami mansion. 007 Stark finally enters the Mandarin's bedchambers, and this is the part where I start to get really fucking pissed off. Turns out the Mandarin isn't even the Mandarin at all. The guy we all thought was the Mandarin, the guy who had been hyped up the whole movie, the guy who, was actually the Mandarin in the comic books, isn't the Mandarin. He's an actor, pretending to be the Mandarin. Because that's, it's stupid. It's just stupid. The actor seems to be completely oblivious to anything going on in the outside world, and he's just being fed drugs by the producers to keep doing this Mandarin role. And I cannot get over how dumb this is. I'm sorry to cut myself off in the middle of the review, but it's dumb. You had a great character like the Mandarin who people thought were going to have a huge role in this movie, and you do this something. It wasn't innovative, it wasn't cool, it wasn't a good plot twist, it was fucking stupid. Anyway, after being shocked by this really stupid revelation, Pinkman arrives on the scene and knocks Tony out. Meanwhile, at the Legion of Doom, Tony is tied up in the basement and oh hey, Maya's there. Maya and Tony have this weird 2-minute back and forth where she tells him that she was able to work with Killian due to a formula that he wrote on the back of a card at the hotel in '99 or whatever. And the thing is it's not great and not a great follow-up to a really stupid plot twist because she's completely phoning it in this entire performance. I don't even think she's a bad actress, but this whole scene is just incredibly poorly acted by her, and you can actively see Downey Jr. struggling to bounce off her because she's just phoning in this entire scene. Speaking of phoning it in, Killian arrives and gives this long-winded speech basically confirming what we already know, that he's the one behind the whole Mandarin business in the first place. Killian also reveals to Tony that he's kidnapped Pepper. Not only has he kidnapped her, but he's injected her with the extremists. This inspires Maya to have a totally uninspired change of heart and threaten to kill herself if Killian doesn't let Tony go. And then Killian tries to talk her down from it and then just kills her anyway, because whatever, I guess. And again, I'm sure she's not a bad actor, but holy shit did she phone in this scene. She even phoned in being shot. Killian's gotta move on though, as he has bigger fish to fry, as they successfully have captured the Iron Patriot. Killian burns for the suit until the mechanic causes it to open and get Rhodey out of there. Rhodey's looking for a fight, but Killian summons the power of Fire Lord Ozai and then knocks him out. All is not lost though, as Tony's suit is finally fully charged and has made its way to Miami. Tony fights off most of Killian's minions and reunites with Rhodey. They then go into the house and meet the fake Mandarin, who they threaten for information. They don't really get much out of him, other than there's something going on off the coast that's going to involve the vice president. They then jack his speedboat to go see what's going on. They call the vice president to warn him, but he doesn't seem that concerned. We then get a good look at his daughter, who is missing half a leg. Uh-oh. Meanwhile, the president boards Air Force One with Iron Patriot in tow. But, that's not the real Iron Patriot, is it? Because Rhodey's with Tony. Nope, it's not. It's Pinkman, who kills mainly everybody on board, kidnaps the president, and locks him inside the Patriot armor. With his suit charged though, Tony boards the plane and is able to kill the El Camino enthusiast once and for all. About 13 people are still alive though, however they fell out of the plane and are slowly plummeting towards the ground. Iron Man can't carry them all, so he creates a human game of barrel and monkeys. They all chain together, and Tony is able to save all of them and drop them safely in the water. Tony then flies right into a bus where it's revealed that he was actually controlling the Iron Man suit remotely from back on the boat. Back at his secret base, Killian reveals to Pepper that he's literally just keeping her as a trophy, and hey look, the president has arrived inside the Iron Patriot suit. Tony and Rhodey arrive to save them, where it's revealed the president is being strung up inside the Patriot gear, and they're gonna execute him, probably on live TV. To make matters worse, they're low on ammo and severely outnumbered. Well, that's what you think at least. Turns out Tony's hobby of mass-building suits is about to pay off. The suits begin having it out with the extremist soldiers, while meanwhile, Rhodey saves the president and flies him to safety. Tony, meanwhile, battles it out with Killian and tries to save Pepper, but she falls and fucking dies. Wow, didn't see that coming. Tony and Killian have it out some more to reveal Killian's totally cool and completely not fucking stupid chest tattoos. Tony's also out of suits except for one, the old reliable Mark 42, oh shit. Turns out it was a decoy though, as the Mark 42 launches onto Killian and blows up with him inside. So that's it, right? Haha, no, he's indestructible, don't you know? Not only that, but he proclaims that he is the Mandarin, but hey, who cares? Pepper's still alive. Remember how Killian, for like no fucking reason, just gave Pepper super soldier syndrome? Yeah, he didn't think that out too well, as she uses it to fucking murder him. Turnaround's fair play, I guess. We then use the last 2 minutes of this film to completely rush through and wrap up the rest of the plot points. The vice president is arrested, Tony decides to get surgery to finally remove the shrapnel from his heart, Happy wakes up in the hospital, and Tony also redesigned Harley's whole garage. The movie ends with Tony going back to the wreckage of his house, yeeting the arc reactor into the ocean, proclaiming that he's still Iron Man. Yay! And in the post-credit scene, it turns out Tony was telling this whole story to Bruce Banner, who was asleep the entire time. So what more can I say about this other than, man, it was going really well, and then it wasn't. So how does it rank? Well, let's find out. Well, while I don't think this movie was terrible, to be honest, considering just the lackluster plot twist and how it destroyed itself from the within, I can't even justify putting it over either of the mid-tier MCU movies, so I am going to put this 5th. So here is the new rankings. The Avengers, number 1, Iron Man, number 2, Captain America the First Avenger, number 3, Thor, number 4, Iron Man 3, number 5, Iron Man 2, number 6, and The Incredible Hulk, number 7. Speaking of Iron Man 2, you'd really think after that movie they would fix the mistake of having really weak-ass villains. But no, they instead decided to say, hey, don't worry, we're gonna deliver you a really cool villain this time, and then fucking halfway through the movie, they said, JK lol, here's some more lame-ass villains. Not only that, but the guy you thought was the villain isn't even the villain, and we completely shit on this really cool character, which we could have used in a cool and innovative way, but we were too lazy to. And honestly, that's really what ties this up for me. It's a shame because there was so many good elements in this. Like, Tony's portrayal of anxiety attacks were incredible. The way, they had his character give some depth by showing how human he was great. The Mandarin was looking like a great villain. He really was. I mean, it had a better plot than Iron Man 2. You were more invested in Iron Man 2. They made this guy look like a legitimate threat, and then they just ruined it. They literally ruined their own movie halfway through it, and it's actually impressive. In addition, I was not at all invested in Killian. He gave me the impression that he was phoning in some of his scenes, and especially Maya too. Like that one scene in The Legion of Doom was so weird, because Killian and Maya both seemed like they were freaking just phoning it in, and Robert Downey Jr. was trying his goddamnedest, he really was, to play off him, but he didn't have much to play off of, and it was just that whole one scene, and it did not to mention that it immediately followed the shitty plot twist. That whole just 15 minutes really fucked up what could have been an A1 movie. And while I don't think it was as bad as Iron Man 2 and The Incredible Hulk, this is probably the most frustrating MCU movie for me. Out of all the MCU movies, I don't think there's one that frustrates me more than this, because this could have been an incredible end to the Iron Man 3 trilogy. It could have been just everything. It could have been a top-tier MCU movie. It could have been on par with the first movie, and they just decided to screw up their own movie, and I just don't understand. I don't understand why you could just roll with the Mandarin or whatever. I don't understand why you had to do this. It was just stupid. But in addition to this being the 7th film of the MCU, it was also the first film of Phase 2. And obviously, it didn't have as strong of a start as Phase 1. Did it get better after? No, it actually somehow got worse, because we are now up next going to be presented with arguably the worst film in all of the MCU, Thor: The Dark World. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is for another time. You can join me back here next Saturday as we are going to be going to Saw for the first time for my look back at the original Saw movie 2004, which is a great movie with a great plot twist as opposed to this one. But after a 6-week layoff, this channel is back and running, and I hope you guys enjoy me for all the look backs we got going in the future. We're going to be continuing the MCU, we're going to be doing Saw, we're going to be continuing Godzilla, we're going to be continuing King Kong, and we're also going to be getting into the Dark Knight trilogy. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to do it for me today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to subscribe. All my notifications, all of my links are in the description down below. My name is Noah Taff. This has been my MCU look back at Iron Man 3, and I'll see you guys next time.